This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, yes. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today is Thursday, July the 30th of 2026, and we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh yes, getting to do all the fun stuff that we get to do, no doubt about that, as we are hanging out and doing all of the stuff, no doubt about that. So there you go. Anyways, how's the last 24 hours or so been for you? Hopefully they've been good and grandiose. So you've got to do all kinds of, well, how should we say it? Magical things in regards to the stuff that's going on. That's for sure. So let's talk about it. So let's see what we do around here. Our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's just kind of how we go about doing things around here. That's how we do it. That's what we talk about. We bring in some professional broadcasters for them to tell you what exactly is going on inside of their multiverse, and then we kind of go from there. That is the whole kit and caboodle of the show. We kind of bring out some different themes as we go. The professional broadcasters will tell you exactly what's going on, and I will give you every crazy news story. Well, not really all the crazy ones, but I will give you every news story that I'm able to find that we can get into this hour. Now, keep in mind that we are a radio station first, followed by a podcast network, then followed into video streaming. You will see a clustering of that stuff as we are going on. So you can listen to us right now live on safetyfm.com. You can listen to us live on radiobig.fm, or you can do us in the podcast catcher. That if you have one of those like 2.0 podcast catchers, it does it in kind of real time is the way that, from the understanding that I have. But what do I know? I'm just a guy here talking behind the microphone. So with that being said, I do have some friends from Feature Story News that are waiting, that they want to do some stuff. So we'll try to get that started right away. But the other side is that if you want to interact, callinradio.com is the easiest way to do that. Audio, video, and text messaging is kind of what happens there. And then once that occurs, boom, baby, it's a run. We're just running, and going from there. That's just kind of the whole kit, and then we do our thing. So if you're good with it, I'm good with it. We can bring in our friends from Feature Story News, let them tell you what the hell is going on, and then we just go ahead and start having a great day. Yeah, great day. So if you're good with the news, I'm good with the news. So let's do that. No, seriously. Let's go ahead and do that. Ahora.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Neha Punia. The US has attacked Iran after the country's Revolutionary Guard fired multiple ballistic missiles at American military installations in Jordan. The attack shattered a multi-day pause in fighting and came as US and Saudi fighter jets launched joint strikes against Iran-aligned militia targets in Iraq. Tehran says it does not seek escalation, but the conflict is now drawing in new countries across the region. Jagrati Dave has more.
There were always fears that this war would widen across the region, and this appears to be the first indication of that fear coming true with those joint US-Saudi Arabian strikes on Iran-backed groups in Iraq. You've heard from US Central Command issuing a statement on social media about the strikes, that they were joint airstrikes conducted by US and Saudi Arabian aircraft against logistics and weapons sites in eastern Iraq, saying that this was in response to Iran targeting its proxies in Iraq to target US forces and Saudi Arabian energy infrastructure. And US Central Command urges Iran and its groups, the groups that it backs, to stop its activities if it doesn't want to see further reprisals.
The US Federal Reserve has left rates unchanged, and this decision to hold rates initially raised hopes of a recovery, but heavy selling returned in the final minutes of trading on Wednesday. Fed Chairman Kevin Walsh gave little indication of where interest rates are headed, while stressing the central bank would take whatever steps are needed to curb inflation. Mitch McCann has more.
On one hand, Kevin Walsh said that the Fed would not provide hints on where rate policy is going to go in the coming months, but he said they would take the necessary steps to reach that 2% target that they haven't reached now for about 5 years. He said he understands the desire for rolling forecasts and rolling commentary, but he said we need to observe market reaction to the developments direct and unfiltered. So Kevin Walsh there really not making any indication, I think, around where things might be headed in the short term.
The death toll from a major earthquake in Japan has now climbed to 28, and residents are now dealing with aftershocks in sweltering summer temperatures.
Rescuers are still working to try to find any survivors, including at a shopping centre, one of the worst hit buildings where a portion of the second floor collapsed. It remains unclear the number of those missing. Thousands of displaced residents are now staying in evacuation centres, and experts say the challenge is to keep them cool and hydrated as the region battles sweltering heat. Some homes are still without power, and aid organisations say getting water to the vulnerable is a priority. Temperatures could reach 39 degrees Celsius in the coming days. Laura Westbrook, Hong Kong.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more today from Nate Swanson, the fired US government official who was involved in negotiations with Iran before he published an article accurately predicting that the regime would not capitulate to American force and would instead exploit its control over the Strait of Hormuz. He was shown the door by the Trump administration days before the February war began. Today, who is advising the US president?
This is a unique situation where the president has just much more day-to-day involvement than any of his predecessors on all areas of decision-making. But those around him is pretty narrow, right? This is not a bottom-up system where you have a normal bureaucracy working through a working level to deputies, to principals, to go to the president. I mean, you basically have a few select cabinet principals who are advising him. Marco Rubio is obviously there, J.D. Vance, and you have the president's son-in-law, Kushner, and Witkoff, and maybe, Hegseth on military matters, but it's really small. The room, I think, is significantly smaller than anything I've ever seen before. And if Trump wants a really small room of advisors, that's okay. But, ultimately, you got to be judged on the results. And the results of the Iran war are, I think, a failure.
Mr. Swanson spoke to Foreign Policy magazine. Tomorrow, what he thinks President Trump wants from the conflict. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. US attacks Iran after the country's Revolutionary Guard fired multiple ballistic missiles at American military installations in Jordan. The attack has shattered a multi-day pause in fighting. Tehran says it does not seek escalation, but the conflict is now drawing in new countries across the region. The death toll from a major earthquake in Japan has climbed to 28 as the search for those still trapped inside a badly damaged shopping mall continues. And that is the latest feature story news. Neha Punya reporting.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion. The book that started the conversation, Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com for more information. Lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
With streams so crisp that you can feel the sarcasm in your ear holes. Radio Big.
Okay, so let's get into it. Currently 15 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Thursday. I almost called it Wednesday because my brain is still fried. Okay, so with that being said, a lot of stuff to go into. So where do you want to start? You are aware that there was one thing that was going on yesterday that the world couldn't shut up about. I mean that in the best way possible because it was interesting because I was seeing some people post online about it, and they were talking about, the unvaccinated was proven correct. And then I heard, I respect this man more than anyone for not answering these questions. So let's talk about this. Dr. Anthony Fauci invoked his Fifth Amendment right during a one of those very diplomatic events that took place at the Senate hearing led by Ron Paul, refusing to answer more than 50 questions about the origins of COVID-19 and other topics. In his opening statement, Fauci accused Paul of having unhinged obsession with prosecuting him, arguing that the hearing was designed as a trap for him into making statements that could be used against him. He cited that Paul repeated calls to have him jailed in the recent release of his personal diaries as evidence of what he described as a personal campaign against him. The hearing grew more heated when Fauci, as attorney, tried to address the committee and was removed by the Capitol Police after Chairman Paul ruled that he was out of order. Paul later defended his decision, saying that the attorney cannot argue a client's innocence while the client refuses to testify by invoking the Fifth Amendment right. Josh Hawley also questioned Fauci, accusing him of using federal employees to help secure cash awards and arguing that presidential pardon would eliminate Fauci's Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. Fauci declined to answer those questions as well. The hearing came days after Paul released Fauci's personal diaries, highlighting entries that described conversations with celebrities such as Barbara Streisand during the pandemic. Paul argued that the diaries showed that Fauci enjoyed the celebrity attention that he received while serving as one of the nation's leading health officials. Take a listen to what was said.
Given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
Okay, so that made some people, depending on what side of the aisle that you're on, okay, and some people extremely pissed off. And there were some that were even going as far as saying this proves that, everything that we said as we are unvaccinated, stated by the post that I have read, that we were correct the whole time. Now, I don't know if that's right. I don't know if it's wrong. All I know is the guy decided that he was not going to answer questions by pleading his Fifth Amendment right. That will piss people off. That will get some people excited, depending on where you're sitting. I don't know. It's kind of one of those weird scenarios. And listen, I don't know how people react to things when it comes to certain level of stuff. So I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, I know this. I know how this works. Some people get excited about interactions with other people. That's just kind of part of life. good, bad, or indifferent. You can enjoy it. You can hate it. Kind of the weird thing is, imagine this for a moment. You have a diary. You put in whatever it is that you put in your diary, your journal, and then all of a sudden somebody says, oh yeah, we're going to get a hold of those damn things and we're going to read them to the public. Talk about scary times.
Duh.
Because, you normally, you journal for a couple of different reasons. You journal or put something into a diary. Either you're trying to do a self-reflection, it might be something that you go back to, or you just kind of feel like you need to get everything out and then go from there. I don't know which one it was there, but man, that had to be interesting to go, oh yeah, we're reading your shit, and we're going to haul you in regards of that. So kind of a weird thing, but whatever. Let's continue talking because, there was more than just the Fauci thing occurring yesterday. So some people will actually probably not believe that. But yeah, there was things that occurred. Now, let's talk about this one real quick because this one got interesting. More than 12 million bottles of Rothro eye drops are being recalled nationwide after the manufacturer identified a potential steriling issue that could pose a temporary risk to your vision. The FDA classified the action as a Class 2 recall, meaning that the use of the product could cause medical reversible health effects. Although no illness or injuries have been reported, the recall affects 6 over-the-counter Rothro products, including all-in-one max strength optic glow, Digi-Eye, dry eye, and cool relief. Sold across the U.S., expiration dates through August 2028. The issue involves a lack of assurance in sterility and raising concerns the drops could be contaminated. While the FDA has not issued special guidance to consumers, similar recalls have advised people to stop using the product immediately and dispose of them or return them for a refund. So there you go. Some stuff to think about. I don't know. I remember there was that whole hot mess with them, some eye drops there for a hot minute that people were looking at and going, oh yeah, I can't see after I use them. Probably not, probably a little hesitant about putting stuff in your eyes when it's all said and done. I'm just saying here for just a moment. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about some other stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene and former television reporter Brian Glenn have tied the knot in a surprise wedding on the Las Vegas Strip. The couple exchanged vows on July the 28th at the Bellagio. The famous fountain serving as the backdrop. Greene shared photos from the ceremony on social media, writing that she and Glenn were surrounded by family when they said I do. The two met on a Trump rally in 2022, began dating in 2023 after Greene's divorce, and got engaged in Washington, D.C. in late 2025. Following the ceremony, newlyweds celebrated with a dinner and reportedly tried their luck in the casinos alongside friends and family. So there you go. Yeah, I didn't realize that I was going to be reading this as a major news story. No, seriously. I mean, congratulations to the couple. I mean, if you want to get married, get married. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. I mean, I don't know where we're going here. But yeah, it gets interesting as, things happen, I guess. The Bellagio. I mean, it's different. Okay, let's continue talking about some other things. A fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran collapsed after Iran launched a surprise ballistic attack on Tuesday targeting American forces in the Middle East. U.S. officials said that the air defenses intercepted the missiles with only minutes to spare. The President Trump vowed to the forceful response, saying that the U.S. would hit them very hard. Yesterday, a U.S. Central Command working alongside Saudi Arabia military carried out retaliatory strikes against Iranian-aligned militants. And Iraq accused of launching drone attacks of the U.S. troops in the Saudi energy facilities. The administration described the operation as a direct response to Iran's attempted attacks. The escalation came just hours after Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with President Trump at the White House to discuss the regional conflict. Netanyahu remained in Washington, adding for additional meetings, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth coming up. So there you go. I don't know. I'm just telling you how it's there. That's the info. What do you think? So there you go. Some interesting stuff, no doubt about that. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick because I have to talk about it. And it's going to involve I guess we'll say celebrity action here is the only way that I can put it. But 4 women have moved forward with the allegation of criminal sexual conduct against actor and musician Jared Leto, claiming that the incident occurred when they were teenagers. Their accounts appear on the BBC's new documentary, Jared Leto's Hollywood Dark Secret, which features testimony from 10 women, 9 of whom are speaking from publicly for the first time about an alleged encounter spanning from 2002 to 2016. The BBC says that Leto did not respond to a repeated request for comments. Beyond these 4 criminal allegations, several other women describe inappropriate sexual phone calls from Leto when they were minors. The documentary also includes accounts from women who say that Leto behaved inappropriately at concerts and fan events. One woman, identified as Taylor, said that she met him when she was 14 during a 30-second to Mars meet and greet in 2005, and she claims that he signed her shirt across her chest and commented on her rack, then attempted to have the bodyguard take her backstage. When her mother confronted him, Taylor said that Leto repeated the comments dismissively. So there you go. A lot of stuff probably going to happen with that one as we are going forward. I mean, let's be realistic. There's a lot of stuff that has come out in regards of Jared Leto about just, we'll call it odd behavior. I'm not familiar with the documentary. I'm just telling you what's there. But there's some odd behavior. Like, doesn't he have like an event that's open, that's kind of like a 3-day retreat type of thing? But there is a ticket, if I recall correctly, because this was kind of a big deal when it was being released, that you could sleep in the same room for like $15,000 that Jared Leto was in. Yeah, that was part of the gig. So I don't know. Kind of just, I can't say that, he did anything, or I can't say that he didn't do anything. It's, what do they say? Innocent until proven guilty. But there are some strange behaviors. And just because strange behavior does not necessarily mean that you're a bad person. I'm just saying it's some strange behaviors. So there you go. So let's continue talking about some other things that are going on. Houston TV News anchor Daniela Guzman has been suspended from KPRC while the station investigates allegation that she accepted complimentary tickets to the World Cup match in a Bruno Mars concert. Records reportedly show that she received 3 tickets to a Portugal match and a luxury suite and 4 tickets to the concert, perks worth thousands of dollars. Station says that it's investigating whether accepting the tickets created a conflict of interest or even an appearance of one. Citing journalistic ethics policy, Guzman, a 4-time Emmy award-winning anchor, had posted photos of videos from the World Cup game with her parents on social media. The investigation comes as questions are also raised about the public officials who reportedly received complimentary tickets. Apparently, breaking news now includes breaking the free ticket policy. She covered the World Cup from the luxury suite, and her next assignment covering ethics training is what it sounds like. The tickets were complimentary. The suspicion wasn't. She got backstage access, and now she's getting HR access is what it sounds like. I don't know. I think it's kind of weird because most organizations will have a limit to what you can receive. Now, I will tell you, there's a guy that I interact with that used to be part of the federal government. And do you want me to tell you what how much he could receive? $25. So I'll put it to you this way. Even taking the guy to lunch was a pain in the ass to do if you were trying to buy lunch, because then you're kind of sitting there doing this weird ass math stuff, trying to figure out what exactly is going on.
Duh.
And so it becomes just extremely strange. So I don't know. I just find it weird when it's all said and done. So there you go. Just saying. Let's continue talking about some other stuff that is going on. So take a listen to this. The American Red Cross has declared only the second national blood supply crisis in its history, warning that the donation have fallen so sharply that it now has less than 1 day supply of type O blood, the most commonly used blood type in hospitals. The organizations say that blood donations have dropped by 25%. over the past month and are no longer keeping pace with hospital demands. As a result, the Red Cross has begun limiting Type O shipments to hospitals, forcing some facilities to prioritize emergency patients while delaying certain non-emergency procedures. Summer vacation, extreme heat, and the loss of school blood drives and an increase in its traumatic injuries during the summer months have all contributed to the shortage. Trauma victims, mothers experiencing severe bleeding, emergency surgery, patients and people undergoing cancer treatments or organ transplants are among those most affected by the dwindling supply. The Red Cross is urging eligible donors of all blood types to schedule a donation as soon as possible, saying that just 3 additional donors at every blood drive this summer could help stabilize the nation's blood supply. So there you go. What an interesting time on how we go through this. I remember there has been events that have occurred here in Orlando that the moment that you see something along those lines, boom, people are going out there and just kind of standing in line just to be able to donate blood. Then you have other portions that you kind of go, okay, this could be a problem. So there you go. Okay, so let's go into this one real quick before we get into our main story. A new study suggests that eating junk food, food-heavy diet early in life could have lasting effects on your memory. Researchers in the University of Southern California found that young rats fed high-fat, high-sugar foods had trouble remembering where they found food. Even after switching back to healthy diet. Scientists say that the problem appears to involve gut-brain connection. Normally, nutrition from real food trigger signals through the vagus nerves to help the brain form memories during and after the meal. But junk food diet weaken those signals, making it harder that the rats remember the food location and response to natural full hormones. The researchers cautioned that the study was conducted only on male rats, so it's not clear yet whether the same effect occurs in humans. The finding that add growing evidence that diet during a childhood could affect long-term impact on brain health. So what do you think here? Definitely an interesting one. So there you go. So now let's see what's going to happen, because man, that gets very interesting. Scientists finally proved that pizza isn't a memory supplement after all these years that people have been debating about it, I guess is the way to look at it. So there you go. Some stuff to think about as we are talking. So there you go. Anyways, 32 minutes past. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and get into that thing that we call our main story, because it is time to do some things around here in regards of talking about that. So there you go.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
So let's go ahead and get into that main story time and talk a little bit about everything that we kind of revolve the show around, just to have a better understanding of what the hell we're doing around here. So listen, I don't know how it works inside of your organization, and it gets weird at times, because you are aware that depending on your organizational size, things can get kind of strange. It's just really how it works. Like, I have such a hard time with this, and I don't know why I do, but I just do. You are aware that if you do start a business, you can assign yourself whatever title you want. It's just kind of that easy. And I'm always amazed when you interact with someone who has that owns a company, a one-person company, but they're the CEO, chief executive officer of the company. You know, you're just the owner of the company, but whatever makes you happy. But because you have that kind of authority inside of your organization, it becomes weird sometimes when you start doing some assignments. And some smaller organizations want to lay out the land, like if they were a huge Fortune 500 company. So it becomes extremely strange. So I want you to think about this for a moment. I want you to think about how some of these companies are structured. Now, I will tell you, I worked at a company that had about 300 people in it. Yeah, 300. So in the world of small companies, that's not really small. It's not large. It's not medium. You're kind of like happy scale there. This is kind of the way to work at it. And I remember They had a steering committee, is what they called it. Now, this steering committee would address how the C-suite talked about stuff. And then they would say on how the company needs to realign to steer the direction that the C-suite wanted to go to. Not a problem. I mean, if you want to have that as one of the layers of what's going on within the organization, that's perfectly fine. Now, the weird part became this. Because you have the C-suite and then you had the steering committee, the weird thing was that some of the people that were in the C-suite were also in the steering committee. So I wouldn't understand how some of these things wouldn't possibly align, especially if you have the same people in one that are in the next. So let's stay there real quick. So on top of that, at this particular organization, they also had something called the risk committee. C-suite, steering committee, now the risk committee. Now, the risk committee would also take a look at it. And then they would make a determination on what kind of risk the company was in front of if they were going to follow X, Y, and Z. Okay, got it. Now, guess what I'm going to tell you? I think you already know, but I'll share it with you anyways. The risk committee had a good chunk of people that were already in the C-suite, that were also in the steering committee, were also part of the risk committee. So let me explain to you how the politicking had to occur from time to time. So there was times that if you wanted to have something change within the organization, you had to go talk to the different layers. And here's how it worked. You would first have to go to the risk committee and tell them what you were trying to change. And then if that was approved, then you would have to go to the steering committee to make sure that the risk committee had already approved what they were saying. And then if the steering committee approved it, then guess where you went? You went to the C-suite and talked about this again. So at no point was there ever layering where it all kind of worked in a giant swoop. Now, where it got funny was the following step. So let's say, for instance, you were blessed enough to get into the risk committee, which normally took about a month or two before they would even see you once you said that you wanted to bring something to order. So guess what would happen? The moment you got approved by the risk committee, if they passed through whatever you were laying out, which you had to give like a full-blown presentation and a full-blown idea on why this would work. And if they approved it within that one meeting, not saying that they needed to discuss it in the next one, then you would go to the steering committee. But guess what happens? Well, if the steering committee and the risk committee were meeting on the same day, your risk committee stuff would not make it to the steering committee. Not on the same day because it was not part of their agenda. So automatically you already knew that you had a full month built in before anything was going to be addressed. A full month. So if you were lucky enough to make it to that second meeting, then here's what would occur. After that, if they approved anything, then you're going to the C-suite. So we're talking about by the time that you get any of this done, if you're going kind of full force, we're talking 3 months. So you better have a strong standing on how this is going to work for you. Now, here's the other pain in the ass of the whole thing. Because some of these people were in these different environments, meaning the risk committee, the steering committee, and the C-suite, if they disagreed with something and the majority pushed it forward, guess what was going to happen in the next meeting? You were going to have the same dumb argument about what you wanted to change with the person that did not agree that it should change, and that was going to happen over and over again throughout the layers. Now, you're probably sitting here going, why are we discussing this today? And that's perfectly fine. I think it's a great question. The reason why we're discussing this is I want you to understand the level of politicking that even occurs in small companies that happen into larger organizations. So sometimes when you get to interact with middle management, it's not that they are trying not to push forward what you want. It sometimes just becomes very difficult because of the, call it bullshit, that happens in the background. And this is why we have always said, forget the corporate bullshit, because those are the levels that somebody has to go fight and argue in regards to what needs to happen. So look at it from this standpoint. It's not that the people within the organization don't want to help you. It's that sometimes the bureaucracy is just so much and how much bullshit you have to go through just to make sure that things get finalized.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
In safety, in my opinion, you woke up. You saw the system, the simulation, the structure that trained you to mistake compliance for care. Safety mutation. Information misdirection picks up where the signal fractured. Because the system didn't shut you down, it rebranded you. It packaged your voice, sold your rebellion as a new initiative, and smiled while doing it. This isn't a manual. It's a decoded transmission about what happens when slogans replace stories, when safety becomes marketing, and when truth gets mirrored so perfectly, you forget it was ever yours. You'll see the mutation. Learning teams turned into theater, zero harm turned into optics, and feedback turned into formatting. But the signal didn't die. It was redirected. Safety Mutation is Book 2 of the Signal Transmission Trilogy. Available now in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by the author J. Allen, Ph.D. Because the system adapted. Now it's your move.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobile.io. That's mobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
You are listening to a renowned safety expert, Dr. J. Allen, on Safety FM. Changing safety cultures, one broadcast and one podcast at a time. Join the fun on social media and find us on Facebook at Safety FM.
So do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now, that live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/1. That's safetyfm.com/1. That's ONE. So just in case. And you'll be able to start live streaming
just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
It's my kind of music.
I get the best mix of my favorite music.
All on one radio station.
Another wild ride is around the corner on Radio Big.
Yeah, I think I'm losing it too. Currently 45 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Thursday. This right here you're taking a listen to, this is Nico. I really think it's Nico Plus, but don't hold it 100% to me. Okay. Song's called Losing It, just in case if you haven't lost it yet. Yeah, songs readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Pandora. So there you go. We would like to thank Nico for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show, because it's always a good time. Yeah, I would tell you, this one will pay off with headphones, just in case. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on inside of the world of the multiverse, and let's go ahead and do it this way because this is what we need to do. Let me tell you about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help, and we want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, you're going to see information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com. To Write Love on Her Arms. So go there, take a look around. There's all kinds of information on the website, and you can go from there. That's just kind of how it goes, taking a look around at everything that is on there. No doubt about that. So there you go. There you go. They also have an application for scholarships, and that looks like they're going to be reopening here in the fall for 2026. Because they do it like in rotation type of thing. So TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. So there you go. Okay, so a lot of stuff still going on inside of the world of the multiverse. With that being said, why don't we go ahead and do this right now? Let's go ahead and bring in our friend John Small. Let him tell us about what the hell's going on with the Motivation Minute. Because listen, we all want to be motivated at some point. And John's the guy to do that. That's for sure. So let's do that right now.
Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by Carlos. Walter Cronkite said, "Success is more permanent when you achieve it without destroying your principles." I agree. Be yourself and be honest about who you are. I recently watched somebody try to morph into a completely different person to get a job they thought they were going to like. Then they got the job and they hated every minute of it. A few weeks later, they quit, but they burned some bridges along the way. Now they're trying to decide where they're going in the future. I think it's pretty good to know this lesson. If you need to pretend to be someone else to get a job, don't do it. Be yourself, and you'll have a better chance of being happy with whatever you choose to do. Why take any job that's not a good fit for you?
The Motivation Minute.
This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with President Donald Trump at the White House ahead of a funeral for Senator Lindsey Graham.
The two leaders held a private Oval Office session Tuesday morning without reporters present. Their talks came as world leaders gathered in Washington to honor Graham, a staunch advocate for Ukraine who died suddenly earlier this month. Gary Beck reporting.
U.S. single-family home prices rose in May, adding pressure to already stretched affordability for young and first-time buyers.
Federal housing data show prices rebounded 0.3% in May after a slight dip in April, with values up 2.2% over the past year. Combined with higher mortgage rates and a shortage of starter homes, the trend is making it harder for many households to break into the market or trade up. Kyle Norris reporting.
U.S. diplomats walked out of a United Nations meeting after France criticized America's human rights record in a sharp transatlantic clash.
American representatives exited the chamber as French officials began speaking at the Security Council session Monday. The rare public rift highlights growing tensions between longtime allies over rights policies and global governance approaches. Chris Anderson reporting.
A teenager died and 4 others were injured after lightning struck a group hiking on a Colorado mountain summit over the weekend.
The fatal strike occurred Sunday afternoon on Mount Blue Sky, according to sheriff's officials. One injured person was airlifted from the 14,265-foot peak, while others sustained minor injuries in the incident. Lawrence Keller reporting.
New applications for U.S. unemployment benefits fell last week, pointing to continued stability in the labor market despite slower hiring.
The Labor Department reported Thursday that initial claims dropped to a seasonally adjusted 187,000 for the week, ended July 18th. The decline suggests layoffs remain limited, even as employers appear cautious about adding new workers. Kevin Sanders reporting.
NASDAQ fell as investors grew nervous about heavy spending on artificial intelligence chips and rising competition from China ahead, key earnings reports.
The tech-heavy index slipped more than 1%, with major chip makers leading Tuesday's decline. Traders are bracing for earnings from some of Wall Street's biggest names, watching whether AI investments still look sustainable or signal a looming pullback. Jessica Oakley reporting.
A powerful earthquake struck southern Japan, damaging buildings and triggering a brief tsunami advisory that was lifted within hours.
The magnitude 7.1 tremor hit Kumamoto Prefecture on Kyushu Island Tuesday afternoon, officials said. Emergency crews responded to reports of structural damage and power outages, while residents were urged to stay away from coastlines during the alert. Benjamin Wright reporting.
A heat dome is building over the western United States, bringing triple-digit temperatures and elevated wildfire risk across California and the Southwest.
Forecasters say highs could reach 110 to 120 degrees in desert areas by week's end. The excessive heat is expected to strain power grids and increase fire danger across parched landscapes. Liam White reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, spitballing and pitballing is what it sounds like for sure, as we are hanging out doing all the fun stuff that we get to do. No doubt about that one. So let's go ahead and talk about some things that happened back on this date. Back in 1909, the U.S. Army accepts delivery of its first military airplane. What else do we got? In 1956, the U.S. motto, "In God We Trust," is authorized. In 1971, U.S. Apollo 15 lands on the bare embryo of the moon. In 1984, soap opera Santa Barbara premieres on NBC. In 1991, MTV announces it will split into 3 channels in 1993. So there you go. There you go. Some stuff there. Let's talk about some celebrity birthdays going on today. Buddy Guy turns 90. Paul Anka turns 85. Arnold Schwarzenegger turns 79 today. Delta Burke turns 70. Lawrence Fishburne 65. Lisa Kudrow turns 63. Vivica A. Fox turns 62. Christopher Nolan turns 56. Hilary Swank turns 52. And Phineas O'Connell turns 29 today, just so you know. He has a very famous sister, but he is normally the producer for all of her music, and that would be Billie Eilish, just in case. So there you go. Some stuff going on right there as we are talking. No doubt about that. Let's talk about some things that you ought to know. President Trump has unveiled a $22.5 billion proposal to overhaul Washington Dulles International Airport, calling it one of the world's most frustrating airports. The plan would be to eliminate the airport's long-criticized people mover shuttle system, build new terminals, and significantly expand the passenger space to modernize the travel experience. While much of the airport would be redesigned, the president says the airport iconic main terminal designed to renowned architects era whatever would be preserved. Trump has long praised the terminal architecture while criticizing the rest of the airport as outdated and in need of a major upgrade. Also, just in case you want to know this, I'm going to share this with you. There are 148 days until Christmas. Just thought you should know that because it seems to be important for some people because sometimes they tend to forget when it is during the year. Just so you know. Okay, a nationwide outbreak has become the largest ever recorded in the United States. CDC is reporting that more than 18,000 suspected cases and over 6,700 lab-confirmed infections since May of the parasitic illness, which can cause severe explosive diarrhea, has now spread to 45 states. The number of confirmed cases jumped from 2,500 in just over 1 week. So far, 423 people have been hospitalized, but no deaths have been reported. Michigan has been hit the hardest, accounting for more than 10,000 suspected cases, and health officials continue to investigate the source of the outbreak and urge the public to practice safe food handling. So there you go. Also, in some other news, the Trump administration is ending temporary Medicare Part D subsidy programs that helped keep prescription drugs insurance premiums lower for millions of seniors. The program expires at the end of the year, which created to stabilize the cost of prescription drug plans. Center of Medical and Medicare Services Administration, Mehmet Oz, said the subsidies primarily benefited the large insurance companies, and the administration believes the program is no longer justified. Yep, that's what he said. The change is expected to raise the prescription drug plan premiums and increase out-of-pocket costs on about half of Medicare Part D beneficiaries, affecting millions of older Americans who rely on the program for their prescriptions. So there you go. Also, here are last night's winning Powerball numbers. Jackpot was $663 million. It was 30, 36, 40, 42, 57. Powerball was 2, and Power Play was 2 as well. So there you go. If you played, I hope it went well for you. So there you go. Anyways, let's give you some words of wisdom for today. The habits you repeat become your life to live. And if you need some advice for today, here you go. Use cream of tartar as a cleanser to brighten stainless steel. What kind of odor would it have? I'm just curious. Anyway, so that's it. That's going to sum up our time together at the top of the hour. I will be going over to radiobig.fm, hanging out for the next couple hours or so, talking about the world of music and talking about the world of entertainment. That's on radiobig.fm. You can come over there and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so, starting at the 8 a.m. Eastern time hour. If you don't want to go over there, that's perfectly fine. You can hang out here on Safety FM with the likes of Sheldon Primus as he talks about the world of safety consulting. Yep, that's how it goes. That's how we move our thing. No doubt about that. So with that being said, let's just do this. Let's get you out of here because I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it. And should I say sayonara? Goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.